Yeah, the team's fantastic. Honestly, they've been really welcoming and very accommodating to me. I obviously raced against Paul Bird Motorsports team for many years, and I've kind of been the thorn in the side for them, and they've been sort of like the arch enemy. So now to join the team, at first was almost a bit strange, to be against the team for so many years and now be joining the team. But it's actually real pleasant to be there, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Well, like you say, you've been our arch enemy, Philip. But now that you're here, we're really welcoming you, and glad to see that you're going to do very well for us. We're very confident on that.
Yeah, well, the bike's been good. Our results up to date have been really strong. The lap times have been good. So yeah, I've got every expectation that we'll build stronger and faster as the time goes on.
One or two little technical problems when we first started off. It looks like we've got over them now, and you're showing your true colours today.
Yeah, we'll try and brush over them. Obviously, people have to be aware and remember that it's a brand new motorbike, and there's going to be little things that go wrong. When you race a bike to its extreme potential, whether it be the chassis, the tyres, the engine, the RPM, when you've got it at the maximum to be competitive, from time to time things are going to go wrong. Yeah. So, especially with a brand new motorbike, it takes time to sort of fine-tune all the little gremlins out of it. And we got unlucky at the first round. We had a couple of problems, but at least, on the brighter side, to look for the positives, we were fast up until the point where we had the bike stop on me. We were competitive. We were already quick at the very first opening round with a brand new bike. To be within the top 5 group of every session was a really promising start.
It's more than you can really ask for, isn't it? Wheeling a brand new bike out of the box and putting it on the race circuit and getting such positions as you were getting, first 5 every time.
Yeah, of course. You kind of, everybody has a want to be fast straight away, but you always have in the back of your mind to be realistic and think, new motorbike. Maybe the first round we should hope for a top 10, and then by the second round we'll hope for a top 5, and then maybe by the third round we can start to aim for the podium. But already be top in the timesheets at the very first round was a great surprise. But it's almost a calculated result because with my experience, I'm one of the most experienced riders in the championship now. I know all the circuits, perfectly. The team's got a great history of the most winning team in British Superbikes. So when you put that all together, it kind of makes sense that we're competitive straight away.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right there. But it's still a great expectation getting on that. What's it like getting on like the new V4 as opposed to the stuff that you have been riding?
Yeah, I think the most noticeable thing is the V4 engine. Obviously all the bikes in the pit lane have good racing spec brakes. We're all on the same Pirelli tyres. Handlebars, seat, fuel tank, all that sort of stuff's very similar throughout all the motorbikes. But what's the most biggest difference about our bike specifically is the V4 engine configuration. So I'm really enjoying it. The engine hasn't got big loads of torque that's hard to manage. It comes on extremely nicely low down when you're trying to introduce throttle, but then it keeps revving right out through to the top range where it keeps pulling, and it's so to speak, it does what it says on the tin. It's not a hard bike to ride, but it constantly accelerates and gives you that sense of speed, so the bike's actually working really well, and I think that's a lot to do with the engine and the way Ducati have designed this new V4 engine, and for racing purposes it's proven to be a good package.
Yeah, well, when you look at the bike, it's like a 250 in many respects. It's not a big bulky 4-cylinder 4-stroke thing that you normally expect.
Yeah, I think all the brands are trying to aim for something that's more refined. They're trying to improve chassis and reduce weight all the time. Every year you see on the spec sheets of a new model, they're trying to reduce weight, increase stability, improve stiffness in the chassis, all these sorts of things. And year by year the technology gets stronger, so they're able to, and I think another thing is like a typical 4-cylinder has 4 cylinders across the crank. Because it's a V4, the cylinders are spread front to back, so the crank is actually a lot narrower. So that gives the bike a very narrow look and more aerodynamic, and it makes the bike look smaller. But obviously Scott, my teammate's a huge guy, and he fits on it. So space-wise, it is a fairly accommodating motorcycle. But when you look at it, it kind of looks like skin and bones. It's all only exactly what it needs and nothing more.
But the other thing that you notice with the Ducati is the aerofoils. Do they make such a big difference?
I have to be honest and say I don't know. I haven't ridden the motorcycle with them or without them. There's certainly areas like at a track like here where traditionally on all the different bikes I've ridden, we've always been fighting with wheel stands. As you come out of Britain chicane and climb up the hill, as the power's coming strong on a superbike, you're always heading towards the sky. It's just very rarely do you see any rider with the front wheel on the ground. Where our bike seems to work really well in that position of the track, which sort of suggests that those little winglets on the side are helping, and keeping the front wheel just down a little bit more than the others. So maybe there is an advantage, but until we get take them off and compare it back to back, I don't actually know how much they do.
Well, the other question is now, the World Superbike V4 Ducati has won 11 or 12 on the trot now. Can you explain to us the subtle difference between our Ducati and the World Superbike Ducati?
Yeah, it's a good question. Everybody's obviously watching what World Superbike are doing. They've had a fantastic result with Bautista and the run of wins, but we've got to kind of prove the bike's performance in our arena. And our tyres, although they're Pirelli, are a slightly different spec, so we have to ride with what we have. That means a slightly different setup of the bike to get the best out of the tyres. But probably more crucially is we have a controlled ECU rule in BSB Championship, so everybody's on the same ECU, which is the controlling unit of the electronics, and also that doesn't allow us to have anti-wheelie traction control and all these special devices that help the riders and help the bike to maintain grip and stop it from wheeling and help the tyre to last for a longer distance of the race. We don't have that, so we've almost got to set the standard for what the bike can do on our own. We can't really relate exactly to what the World Superbike guys are doing, but obviously the platform that they've started from with the standard Ducati V4 is the same platform we started from. So we've just got to kind of, they're a couple of months ahead of us with the championship starting earlier and obviously having the full factory support. They're a little bit ahead, and we're kind of emulating what they've tried to do with the bike, and hopefully we can do the same and start winning. And so far for this weekend, we had a test a week ago here, and I topped the sheet. It was actually a second faster than the next best rider, so that was a fantastic display of what the bike can do. And then yesterday, again, we had a very strong practice, and we were much faster than the competition. So it's proving to be that the bike has got the potential and the capabilities, and now the pressure's starting to mount more and more on me to qualify well and put a good race together.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can cope with that, no problem. So, your strategy for today, will you be setting off balls out and away, or will you save a little bit of tyre and keep your strength up for the last couple of laps?
No, I think obviously qualifying is that sort of, you got to put it all on the line for that one fast lap. So it's a calculated risk. Obviously, the more risk you take, the better lap time you can get. But the more risk you take, the more chance you have of slipping off. So it's kind of a delicate balance always. And I think whilst we've got good lap times already posted through practice, we've got confidence that we can repeat those lap times again during the qualifying, and hopefully that's enough to secure pole position. If for some reason the other riders find big improvements before today's qualifying, and as long as we're somewhere on the front row would be a good result. But ideally, I'd like to start out from pole position and kind of stamp a bit of PBM authority on the championship.
Yeah, so do we. Yeah, and I think the front row at Oulton Park is pretty important.
Definitely, it's a difficult track to pass. Obviously, it's a long lap compared to round one at Silverstone where we had the short circuit. It was only 40 odd seconds per lap, where here we're in 1 minute 35 sort of lap times we expect in the race. So it's a longer lap, but there's not that many easy places to pass, because you know, the second, third, fourth, fifth, right down to 10th place guy, there's only a couple of tenths between us all. So, you know, to make a pass on someone that's almost doing exactly the same lap time as you are makes it very difficult. So, ideally, to get away at the front would be
the perfect answer for, especially for Oulton Park, because as big as the circuit looks, there isn't many passing places, is there?
Yeah, I think also the track for us is quite narrow. Probably the narrowest track on the championship calendar is Cadwell, but second to that would probably be here. The tracks, it does feel quite narrow when we're racing, especially, you know, you start getting 2 or 3 riders abreast. You don't feel like you've got much room, so
you haven't got much room.
I'm hoping to make it a really boring race and just start from the front and lead the whole race. And you know, hopefully there won't be any passes to worry about, but you know, I have to be prepared for everything.
Well, we are hoping that is the case. But anybody, any questions to ask? All you 4 wise men down there, have any questions?
What's your favourite track?
My favourite track would be Thruxton down south. I mean, it's you know, maybe not everyone knows the track, but it's just got a really interesting layout. It's kind of really fast and flowing. It's the opposite of here. It's a very wide circuit. So,
you're not much of a microphone mechanic, by the way.
No, it's not really working for me that well. But yeah, it's a really wide circuit. So there's loads of variation of line. You know, each rider has their own sort of perspective of where the best place to be on track is. So you see a variety of line changing, and but the tarmac itself is really abrasive. So you know, if you wanted to be ignorant and just ride the 220 odd horsepower superbike as hard as it'll go, you could destroy a tyre in 6 to 8 laps. You know, obviously we've got about 15 laps to do, 15 or 16 laps to do around there in race conditions. So if you've destroyed the tyre in 8, you're going to go out the back really quick with no grip. So it's almost like a chess game or a cycling race where you've got to have a strategy. It's not just about who's got the most, who's bravest or who can brake the deepest. You kind of it adds another element to racing, and I kind of like that, where you see a guy shoot off really early in the early stages of the race, and you kind of, your mind's saying, oh, chase after him, you've got to go with him, and then you're like, no, hold back. If he's riding that fast on lap 1 and 2, he's going to destroy his tyre, and at lap 10 or 11, he's going to be going that way when I'm still going that way. So it adds another element to the racing, and I enjoy that. So yeah, that would probably be my favourite race of the year.
And obviously, so you go back to the TT this year as well?
The question is you going back to the TT? Well, I'll answer that for him. No.
Yeah, I think PBM and Ducati have a lot of expectation to do well in the British Superbikes this year, and it's not my perspective, but some people see doing extra races during the year as a distraction. So I respect that. I only play a part in this whole team. So I have to respect that the team's desire is to win the championship here, races in the championship here, and try and minimise any outside kind of distraction or something that could disrupt our program. So with that in mind, yeah, we're going to give the TT a rain check for this year.
How does the V4 compare to other Superbikes that you've ridden in the championship?
The question is, how does the V4 compare to other bikes? I think generally chassis-wise and things like that, the bike is very similar to other bikes. It's a nice chassis, it seems to be working well, it's very kind on the tyre. But yeah, in general the bike is very similar to all the other machines I've ridden. But the engine is, like I said before, is probably the biggest difference, the way that it delivers power. In other bikes I've ridden, you get 200 horsepower and it's like it's here. You have to keep it's in one little point where the power's at its strongest. So when you get race bikes, they're tuned to the highest sort of. Everyone's looking for the biggest and strongest figure in horsepower. But often what that does, we end up with a difficult bike to ride. It either skims a tyre, or does a big wheel stand, or shakes the handlebars violently, trying to get 200 odd horsepower through that back wheel. It's difficult to do. It's always a management between, I want more power, but I need to be able to make the power get down to the ground and not destroy the tyre in the process. So I think the V4 has a very linear power delivery because of the V4 nature. That's why it's a proven concept. You know, that's why almost all MotoGP teams and brands have a V4 configuration, because it's a proven method. It makes power, it uses a high RPM without too much hassle, but it's a very linear power delivery, which is easier to use. So that's kind of how I could best describe it.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't keep him for much longer. He needs to go, he needs to prepare himself, etc, etc. Look, Josh, thank you very much, and thanks for listening.
Thanks to everyone for listening, my dribble. Have more to say at the next rounds.
Cheers, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Brookes. Now what we're going to do, just while we're here, and there's not many